Hello and happy holidays to you, your family, your friends and loved ones. Welcome to Chat News, the Year in Review. I'm Dan Reynish. When we gathered together in the newsroom a few months ago, trying to think of a way to recap this past year, we kept coming back to the same conclusion. 2021 was another challenging year here in Medicine Hat, and I'm using that word challenging very lightly. We all know the problems, the inconvenience, the havoc caused by the pandemic and the impact it had on our everyday lives, our healthcare system, and the economy. From the greatest summer ever to the disastrous fourth wave of the pandemic. But while COVID-19 dominated headlines once again, instead of recapping those stories, we decided to look back at some of the other stories and issues that have touched Hatters over the course of the last year. We here at Chat TV News and Chat News Today have been keeping track of the stories that resonated most with you all year. And over the next hour, we're going to take a look back at those stories. The stories that resonated with you and you shared the most online. And we begin with a big change in leadership. Two-term incumbent Mayor Ted Clugston was defeated in the October municipal election by former City Solicitor Lindsay Clark. Clark's victory resulted in her becoming the first female mayor in Medicine Hat's history. But that wasn't the only change. Voters also elected 5 female councillors, marking a new era in municipal politics.
History was made on election night as Medicine Hat elected its first female mayor. Lindsay Clark beat out incumbent Ted Clugston by a landslide, securing over 13,000 votes.
It feels great. I know that even though we, get to wear the mantle, it's not our hard work that got us here. We are, walking on a path that was trampled down by many women before us.
Female candidates also dominated the race, the most in Medicine Hat's history. Securing the most council votes was Ramona Robbins.
It feels epic, actually, like liberating in all ways. Sister Suffragette runs through my head as I'm thinking about it. But all day yesterday I was wearing a shirt that said "Real Queens Fix Each Other's Crowns." So I think that's the point to me moving forward, is to work with these women and the men on council to do the best we can for Medicine Hat.
Coming in third in the council race was Allison Knodel.
I am over the moon. That is the phrase that I keep saying. I think to be part of a team of women who I admire and respect and think will make a great impact on the community.
Throughout the campaign, there was a push to eradicate the old boys club, and Cassie Hyder, who came in 6th, believes a disconnect with previous council may have prompted people to vote differently.
I think women connected well with our citizens, and they went a little bit of an extra mile to make sure that people knew who we were, and I know I did, so I think that's maybe why.
Shyla Sharps, who came in 7th, said women bring a unique skill set to leadership.
I think our biggest thing that we're going to bring to the table is a different perception and a different, just a different way of looking at things, which is perception. But when you look at things differently, you communicate differently. When you look at things differently, your outcomes are different.
Allison Van Dyke, who was elected 5th, hopes this many women on council will inspire other young girls to consider running for office. And that's something her 2 young girls, both 16 and 13, also want to see.
I think they'll view this and think that they'll actually be able to make a difference, and that things don't just stay the same all the time, and that they can actually change where they live and how they live.
And for many on the new council, that is a goal.
If I can inspire a young person to do something hard because I was able to do this, I've won. And there's so many good things wrapped up in this.
Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
May marked a tragic discovery in our country, one that prompted national outrage. The remains of 215 Indigenous children were located at the site of a former residential school in Kamloops. In Medicine Hat, there was an outpouring of support at a vigil to honor the victims.
It
was a powerful and emotional night at the Samus Teepee. Supporters gathered around the 215 pairs of shoes, each representing a child that was found. Heartbreaking stories were also shared by residential school survivors. Elder Charlie Fox is one survivor. He went to a residential school in 1954 at 7 years old.
5 minutes after, it was like getting run over by a train.
Reliving his past is painful. He says he's never seen so much violence in all his life.
I couldn't even cry, all it did was shake.
The vigil had a lot of meaning for those in attendance. John and Colleen say being here really deepens the story, a part the couple says has been missing in Canada for so many years.
I think the visual of just being in this space and the visual behind me with the actual shoes has a real impact.
These stories are so important, and to see so many people out here tonight was really moving.
Along with songs, poems, and dances shared, the evening was also a night of heritage and remembrance for Eden and Erica.
We came out here to support our ancestors and our grandfather. Our grandfather went to a residential school. And it's been hard over the years to find out our First Nations background.
With vehicles and supporters wrapped around the teepee, the vigil was overwhelming for the Meowson Friendship Centre. Brenda Mercer wants the community to know that they are always here to answer questions and to not be afraid to call as we all connect, heal, and learn our shared history.
Look at the similarities rather than the differences. And also, reach out. It's okay to, just call and not know what to say. We can start that conversation.
We need to walk side by side, We need to have an understanding, a compassion for each other.
Chantel Wagner, Chat News.
Final plans for what's being called the gateway to the downtown are moving ahead. Town Square, located at 603 1st Street across from City Hall, will become a place to shop and eat. A shade canopy and 16 metal sea cans were recently approved by the Municipal Planning Commission. The sea cans will be rented out to vendors for pop-up markets during various events. Work on Town Square began in the summer, which included paving and putting up landscaping barriers. It's expected to at least partially reopen in the spring. North Railway is a street steeped in history, and it continues to be home to businesses and restaurants. But some perceive the area as unsafe. It's not uncommon to see people under the influence of drugs or struggling with mental health challenges. Concerns about safety prompted one local business on the street to relocate earlier this year. Police are trying to address those concerns through the Downtown Patrol Unit. Tegan Rasha spent some time with the unit this year and has more on what they do.
Sergeant Brian Bourne and Constable Jason Van Mulligan grab their radios and phones. Next, they throw on a warm jacket as they prepare to spend the chilly day walking downtown Medicine Hat.
Coming to work every day is very, very enjoyable, and having that ability to make a difference in the downtown's been really rewarding.
This staircase where people spend the night is one of the first spots on the patrol, and Van Mulligan runs into a familiar face. With compassion, he encourages the man to get a warm meal, because relationship building is a big part of the DPU. Bourne and Van Mulligan then join up with a third member of their team, Constable Lori Parsonchuk. For the past 13 months, their focus has been on addressing public behavior concerns and increasing the feeling of safety.
There's not a lot of criminal activity that's happening in downtown. It's more public behavior and nuisance types complaints.
The officers know everyone downtown by name and have given all the businesses their numbers. Carrie Montaigne owns Botanicals. She recently moved her business from 2nd Street to North Railway and feels the DPU helps keep Medicine Hat a safe community.
In both locations, we've developed a really good relationship with them. They know us by name, we know them by name. And we feel really comfortable if something ever were to happen, that we have familiar faces that we can call.
The unit spends more than 30 hours a week walking the downtown core, averaging 16,000 steps per day. Police in the area can be challenging as they primarily work with people suffering from addictions, mental health issues, and homelessness.
It's definitely a different dynamic than the average patrolman would deal with. We're dealing with these people day in and day out. The majority of our shifts spent with them.
While this shift has been fairly quiet, the team remains dedicated to making sure people are comfortable and safe.
Here for some lunch today? Yeah? Right on. Good morning.
Tegan Rasha, Chat News.
In their first year, the Downtown Patrol Unit responded to 550 calls, laid 55 criminal charges, and issued 93 tickets. Well, coming up here on Chat News, the year in review, people in our city are getting used to a new name for a family favorite. And later, a very happy ending for the parents of a little girl lost in Elkwater. Please stay with us. Writers as far back as Shakespeare have wondered, what's in a name? Well, here in Medicine Hat, apparently a lot. Earlier this month, the Family Leisure Centre underwent a name change that created quite a stir.
It's a place where every member of the family can go skate, swim, or play all under one roof. But now the Family Leisure Centre has a new name.
For the first time, I'd like to welcome you to the place where we all go to be active, to the Big Marble Go Centre.
The announcement was made on Monday at City Council by the city's corporate partnership coordinator, and so far, reaction has been pouring in.
Maybe they'll shorten it to the Marble, and maybe that's, I don't know, that's even dumb, I guess. I'm old and cranky, so.
Well, I just remember when they opened it, we thought it was so weird that somebody won a competition and they came up with a blah name like the Family Leisure Centre.
Over 400 comments were made on our Facebook page criticizing the new name, with some people even asking if April Fool's has arrived yet. The City of Medicine Hat still owns and operates the Recreation Center. The name change comes after Big Marble Farms became the new title sponsor of the facility. VP of Marketing and Sales Jonathan Scow says the name reflects the uniqueness of the Big Marble brand, and they knew it would create a buzz.
We're not taking it personally. We know that change isn't something that everybody embraces right away. We certainly hope that the name will settle and people will warm up to it and be able to really capture the spirit of what we were going for when we chose that name.
But not everyone is critical of the name change.
Doesn't really matter to me. It's a fine name. I guess they're the sponsors, so that's good on Medicine Hat.
Yeah, Marble Gold, like Big Gold. Yeah, that doesn't matter to us. We use this 7 days a week. So yeah, awesome facility.
In fact, the city says some events will be at a lower cost with the partnership.
The sponsorship gives us the opportunity to be able to offer some things at no charge where there was a charge before. So where we would have a nominal fee on things like special events that happen there, now thanks to this generous sponsorship and partnership, we're able to offer them at no charge.
In order to allow for more people to go to the Big Marble Go Centre. Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
Another issue that generated a lot of buzz this year and over the years in our city is photo radar. There is a perception among many that it can just be a cash cow, but the province wants to change that, and this spring will introduce new rules.
Alberta's photo radar program on the government's radar once more.
These new rules will put a stop to photo radar fishing holes or speed traps.
The province says new restrictions are aimed at making the program more accountable, more transparent, and to address public concerns. It's being used as a means of making money.
Photo radar will be prohibited on residential streets with speeds less than 50 kilometers per hour unless they are school or playground zones or construction zones.
However, in Medicine Hat, police say most roads are already 50 kilometers an hour, and current locations where it's set up, which are already publicized, likely won't change. However, there will be one noticeable difference in the city soon, making photo radar not so hard to spot.
We will be required to provide more visibility on the photo radar vehicles or whatever apparatus we're using. So we're definitely going to look at exactly what that means.
Also, the province extending a freeze on new radar equipment for a third year. The extension to give municipalities more time to gather data that shows why it should be used in any given location. But police say it's data they already supply.
Municipalities can't just put photo radar sites wherever they want. They have to be backed up with traffic data, they're speeding. There's actually 8 criteria for setting up photo radar sites. They're then approved by the province and they're audited every 2 years.
But based on what Chat News heard on the street today, the radar program continues to be unpopular with many, including with former city councillor Dwayne Rosette.
When photo radar first came in, I was on council. I objected to it then. I object to it now.
I'd like to see the documentation that it's working. I'd like to see how they prove that accidents are less with the use of photo radar.
Sometimes people go a little fast. It's not the end of the world. Unless they cause an accident. If they cause an accident, then they should get charged for dangerous driving.
But police say motorists who get caught are driving an average of 14 kilometers over the limit. And with almost 18,000 tickets issued last year alone, the photo radar program isn't likely going to stop flashing anytime soon. Darren Rathwell, Chat News.
Back in August, a family camping trip turned into a nightmare after a little girl went missing in Elkwater. Her disappearance triggered a massive search, and as Tegan Rasha reports, dozens came together to help.
The community rallied together last night after it was reported a 6-year-old girl couldn't be found. It started around 7 p.m. Wednesday when Redcliffe RCMP responded to a missing person complaint.
The child was camping with her family and playing in a nearby field. She was walked partway back to the campground with a family member. However, she did not return to the campground.
The family was camping in Cypress Hills Provincial Park at the Lodgepole Campground. RCMP, their police dog services, Alberta Fish and Wildlife, sheriffs, and Southeastern Alberta Search and Rescue quickly started searching the area. Other campers also volunteered to help find the girl. Search efforts continued throughout the night.
Last night, about 5 o'clock, they came driving down the road asking if we had seen her. But then heard nothing more until all the cops showed up last night. And then about 12 o'clock, we came out and helped until about 6 o'clock this morning and took a nap and came back again.
This morning, there was additional help from Calgary Search and Rescue, Cypress County Fire and Bylaw, as well as Halo Air Ambulance. Dozens of volunteers also came out to help. Minutes before 10 a.m., it was announced the little girl had been found.
She had been located approximately 1.5 kilometers south of the campground and about 100 meters west of a road in that area. She was located by a Southeastern Alberta Search and Rescue member with his team of volunteers.
The 6-year-old girl spent the night in the forest in chilly temperatures. RCMP reported she smiled when volunteers found her.
Her activities over the night was basically walking a bit and sleeping a bit, and when it became daylight, she actually hunkered down where she was located, which was great.
She was looked over by EMS, and RCMP say there were no issues. Halo CEO Paul Carolan said it was a very fortunate outcome.
There was a lot of resources on scene, right? I mean, the helicopter is fast and big and loud and often gets a lot of attention, but the truth is this was a multi-jurisdictional, multi-agency effort, and that's the reason I think it was successful.
Once it was announced she was found, there was a sense of relief across the campground. Volunteers were hugging and some even crying, knowing everything was okay. Tegan Rasha, Chat News.
What was supposed to be a home sweet home for one Medicine Hat woman quickly soured. She shared her story of buying a house with us in hopes of preventing others from falling victim.
China King Lachlan thought she found the home of her dreams last year in Abbey, Saskatchewan.
There's a kitchen, there's a living room, 2 bedrooms, and a bath. It's not a big yard.
She had been looking outside Medicine Hat for a more affordable place to live with her service dog, Yu. She found a home on Kijiji and went to Saskatchewan to take a look.
The house was too big for me, but the man showing me the property said that he had a smaller one for sale that might be perfect, and I actually thought it was. I drove up a week later with a friend. We looked the place over and decided to buy it.
King Lachlan bought the home for $16,000. He transferred the down payment and completed a purchase agreement with the seller. She moved in and did some renovations, but months later she got suspicious after she couldn't get insurance, so she went to the village office.
I did a tax search only to find out there's a lien on the house for back taxes. So I decided to investigate a little further, and that's when I found out he does not own the house.
The title had not been transferred, and the actual owner was a man living in Ontario. He agreed to let her continue living in the home as long as she pays utilities while the issue with the title is sorted out. In the meantime, she's launched legal action, and ownership of the home is in question, which is difficult for her as she's already out thousands of dollars.
I know that I've given him cash of $8,000. But I've also had new floors put in the house. I had a hot water tank put in the house. I've painted the house.
Both King Lachlan and the seller never used a realtor. Frank Devine has 32 years of experience in real estate and is the current president of the Medicine Hat Real Estate Board. He says hiring a realtor is always a good idea when it comes to buying and selling.
First of all, realtors will do their due diligence and find out who actually owns a home by pulling a title search. Also, the realtor will go to the city and make sure everything is in compliance with the city and everything is permitted.
Chat News reached out to the man who sold her the house, but he declined to comment. Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
The whistling sound of trains passing through Irvine has some local residents demanding change. Fed up with the disruptive sound and shaking buildings, the issue was turned over to federal regulators. As Darren Rathwell reports, it's hoped a mediator can help find a solution.
Do you hear it coming? How about now? It's a case like this where that sound seems to go on and on that has become unbearable for some residents of Irvine.
The vibration is a big part of it, but the whistle blowing drives you crazy.
After the last few years of items being shaken loose from the walls at Irvine Community Library, Joan Cote and her friend Karen Kramer have had enough.
The noise isn't just the street or isn't just the street across the tracks. It goes back all the way through the whole town.
You're thinking, why is this happening? Why does this keep going on? Why don't they do something about it?
Cote and Kramer canvassed the hamlet to sign a petition calling for a ban on train whistling in Irvine and a reduction in speed to lessen noise and vibrations.
And Cypress County did move to deal with the train activity in Irvine, passing a motion to reach out to the federal agency responsible.
And so, federal regulators have assigned a mediator to sit down with CP Rail and the county, which says meetings are expected to start within a couple of weeks.
My goal is to find a resolution to eliminate it, but I don't know how that will go because it's federally regulated.
In fact, the county's chief administrator also calls Irvine home and agrees the train is loud.
It's a busy track, particularly in the night.
For CP Rail's part, it says in a statement, trains are required to whistle at all public grade crossings and must start sounding the whistle at least a quarter mile before the crossing unless an agreement otherwise is in place. It's small consolation, though, to upset residents.
I've heard people talk about the fact that, their plaster is cracking because of the vibrations from the train.
But there's hope in Irvine. New attention to the issue will get train activity on the right track there, eventually. Darren Rathwell, Chat News.
Once again, it's time for a quick break. After that, the story of one woman's dream to own her own business and many hatters purchasing homes this year led to a hot real estate market. The Chat News Year in Review continues after these messages. Hello, welcome back and happy holidays. I'm Dan Reynish. We are recapping the year that was, and we're at June right now when at that time, for sale signs were popping up all over town. The real estate market was booming. In fact, it was the hottest market in our city in 14 years.
Take a look at pretty much any Medicine Hat neighborhood, and it's likely you'll see one of these. Despite COVID-19, the real estate market has been booming lately. That's according to the latest statistics from the Medicine Hat Real Estate Board.
It is very hot. This market is the hottest market we've seen since 2007. Basically, almost through every price level.
the market is doing very well.
According to the real estate board, low interest rates have prompted many people to look at buying a home. People like Lisa Samuelson and her husband.
We had a little bit of time on our hands, and we just started thinking about our needs in terms of our living space. Our kids are now teenagers, so we started thinking that we wanted something a little bit different than what we had previously.
Jeremy Knodel also took advantage of the hot housing market to help buy an investment property for his son.
He's in the market now, essentially, and building equity and credit, and so we thought that was a good way for us to use our money and a good way for him to kind of get started on that.
The Medicine Hat Real Estate Board says right now some properties are more in demand than others.
Single-family homes and half duplexes are doing very well right at the moment. Single-family homes in the price range in that $300 to $400 range are the hottest commodity in town right at the moment.
Supply is also low in the city, and that's resulting in increased prices and competition for those looking to buy or sell, something the Samuelsons experienced this spring.
It was a very competitive market. We found this house. We heard that there was already an offer on it. That offer ended up falling through, so we put in our offer right away, and I'm thinking that this house, our current home, probably sold within a week of being on the market.
As for if the market will cool down anytime soon, the Medicine Hat Real Estate Board doesn't think so. They recommend to jump on buying a home sooner than later while the interest rates are low, and to get your financing pre-approved so that one day you can sit at what is now your dream home. Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
The hot real estate market didn't come without its challenges. Low interest rates combined with rental properties being listed for sale led to fewer homes available for rent. And that made it difficult for some renters to find a place to call home.
Daryl Lamb spends a lot of time on his phone, scouring the internet looking for a single-family house for rent. He's been looking for the past 6 months with little luck.
By the time they do show up, and by the time I respond to them, a lot of them are taken already, or they've been overwhelmed with calls and people wanting to view them, that they say, sorry, we've got too many people already as it is.
He has to be out of his Southridge home by the end of the month, and time is ticking to find a similar-sized home that is pet-friendly in his budget. And he's not alone in his struggle. Local rental experts say lower mortgage rates have led to a very active and competitive rental market.
We've seen a lot of single-family homes that were once upon a time rentals being put on the market, selling very quickly, and it's put a lot of these long-term families, long-term rental families, out searching for specific single-family home properties that, we just don't have them.
3 to 4 bedroom homes are in greatest demand here in the city, but finding one for rent is a difficult task.
Right now we may have 2 or 3 that would be available with us, and as soon as we bring it on the market, we'll have probably between 10 and 15, maybe even 20 applications within the first few days.
The pandemic has also shifted how landlords operate. Sheila Payne owns 7 rental properties here in the city.
You definitely have to do the screening. There's a lot of people that are struggling, but yeah, you have to screen them and see if they can actually afford what they say they can afford.
As for those jumping into the rental market, experts say to be detail-oriented in your application and to be prepared with the damage deposit ready to go so that the home you want can soon become yours. Tiffany Goodwin, Chat News.
There are children across our city who have to temporarily leave their homes to ensure their safety and well-being. This is where foster parents come in. They open their homes to nurture these children. But in Medicine Hat, more families are needed. Tegan Rasha spoke to one foster family this year who said the experience is the most challenging yet rewarding experience they've ever had.
The McDowell family has been fostering children for nearly a decade. The inspiration came from Scott McDowell's mission trip to Africa.
He came home and he said we need to help a child in need in our community, so we decided that we would look into foster parenting.
Kirsta and her husband Scott had 2 young biological kids at the time. They thought it would be best to learn how to parent first. 5 years later, they attended foster parent training and instantly knew it was right for them.
It was nerve-wracking because you always think, oh, am I good enough to be a foster parent or am I not? Lots of questions asked, but when you look back in hindsight, it was fairly a simple process. They're very accommodating. They make you feel at ease.
The McDowells have had about 10 foster children in their care. Shannon Nelson, a program supervisor with McMahon, says it's very important for anyone considering fostering to be prepared emotionally.
Can they say goodbye? Because that's going to be really difficult. Foster parents attach to the foster kids. The kids attach to the family. So can they let go when it's the right time?
Kirsta says as foster parents, they provide a home, love, attachment, stability, and trust. This does lead to heartache when a child leaves, but the goal is to reunite the children with their biological families.
So we are not superheroes. We are upset. We're attached to these children. We find it hard to say goodbye.
And while foster care is about helping children short term, Kirsta and Scott ended up adopting a little girl who was in their care a few years ago. Tegan Rasha, Chat News.
Back in the spring, we shared the story with you of a Medicine Hat family who, while mourning the tragic loss of a family member and struggling with job uncertainty, took a big risk. That gamble led to the creation of a business that is now helping keep the memory of their loved one alive.
There are 4 people at the heart of Cha-Cha's Mexican Street Grill, but you won't see all of them taking orders and serving food. Laverne Hobson's father passed away a few years ago and left her a small amount of money. She wanted to do something special with it and something he would be proud of. Last year, Hobson decided to open a food truck with her boyfriend Rick and daughter Jessie.
He would think it was super cool. My dad used to he built a toe behind barbecue at one point, and he used to cater many events and reunions and things like that. So I think that he would be really proud of it.
Laverne and Jessie spend hours working together in the truck's tight space. That could be tough for some, but for them, it's only strengthening their bond.
We have a very good working relationship together. We have a lot of fun together. I'm really grateful. She's a great kid, and she makes the day just so much fun.
Cha-Cha's first day on the road was at the end of March, and it makes about 8 stops a week in Medicine Hat and Redcliffe. Hobson is enjoying her first year as part of the food truck community. Last week, Cha-Cha's was at the first Sunday Food Truck Frenzy of the year, and will be back as many times as she can.
We absolutely enjoy being around all the other trucks. It just makes it that much more, an exciting of a day, and we look forward to Sunday on Mother's Day.
It's early in the life of Cha-Cha's, but Hobson says seeing her vision become a reality is a proud moment for her and her entire family, and she will always have a piece of her father nearby.
Actually, on the back of the shack, there's my parents' initials, and it looks like it's carved into the wood.
Chris Brown, Chat News.
And for a couple of minutes, but go grab the family and tell them that when we return, you'll be able to see what a search and rescue looks like from the back of a horse. You'll also meet a woman who has walked every single street in our city. Chat News, the Year in Review, returns after these messages. During a search and rescue mission, every single second counts. But in an area surrounded by coulees, it can be difficult for searchers to cover some parts of the terrain. However, there is a special search and rescue unit in Medicine Hat that has the ability to go where others simply can't.
This isn't a Sunday trail ride in the coulees. These volunteers and their horses are working on their skills. Jessica Torrey leads the mounted team with the Southeastern Alberta Search and Rescue Association. She says the team plays an important role in search efforts.
If the road is too narrow for the vehicles, we can get out there a heck of a lot faster. They also don't leave tracks. That can be confused with a hiker or a bike.
Using horses are very beneficial. They can cover more land and in a greater detail than other units in search and rescue. Volunteers can see more and rely on the horse's senses for help.
We had a search that we were on that was through a cornfield and up and down coulees. Horses can get up and down the coulees a lot better than the UTVs. Bikes, it's a lot of hard work, and some of those trails are not as friendly.
In some years, the mounted team may be called upon up to 25 times to help. While searching on horseback, volunteers can focus entirely on the path ahead as they are not multitasking trying to drive a vehicle.
How much fun it is where you can find
something that's as small as a dime in a blade of grass.
Tori would like to expand the mounted squad, as currently there are only 7 volunteers. They are looking for people who own or lease a horse and are prepared to go through some training.
There's a huge list of things that they have to be able to do. They have to be nice, calm, and quiet, not worried about the noises, be able to ride beside traffic, go in the water, go in rivers, go up and down hills. You have to be able to do 10K in an hour.
Tori says being a member at CSAR is a rewarding experience and crucial in emergencies. One volunteer loves that she can make a difference in her province.
I want to help the community and do the best I can and help anyone that's in need.
Horses are known to have a calming effect on people. They can add another level of comfort for those who are found. Tegan Rasha, Chat News.
Let us recap now a 4,000-kilometer journey that wound its way along Highway 1 to Dunmore and beyond this year. Homeless James and his faithful four-legged companion Muck were traveling across the country. Their goal was to bring awareness to the barriers faced when it comes to finding them both a warm place to sleep at night. They had been barred from many shelters because most don't allow pets due to liability concerns. James says many who are homeless like him simply refuse to give up their pets, choosing to live on the streets instead.
Now, after 5 years, I've got 30 homeless shelters from Montreal to Vancouver that were not taking pets before, taking pets, using Homeless James and Muckwa with my permission to fundraise to get the liability insurance.
James and Muck plan to continue pushing for change. They hope to end their journey in Vancouver by April of next year. There are hundreds of kilometers of streets that wind through our city, and there's one person who has walked literally every single street, not once, but 13 times. Tegan Rasha met up with 80-year-old Teresa Vanderhorst on one of her walks earlier this year and has more on what inspires her.
With a map in hand and sunglasses on, Teresa Vanderhorst is ready for her daily walk.
I've walked past these houses 13 times.
The 80-year-old retired school bus driver has already walked every street, road, and crescent in Medicine Hat 13 times. And Teresa started her 14th journey around the city back in May.
I just love walking the city, and I get so tired of walking in the same area. I hate the treadmill.
A trip around the city takes Teresa about a year. The colorful maps she used to track her walks show the passion she has for what she does.
I have all my maps at home. They're all wrapped up and bundled, and I log everything in a book. So I only have to go back and look at the map from 2006, 2005, and I know exactly how long, because I do record everything, including how long each trip took me.
She logs the conditions of the walks. Her preference is mild weather. While some walks around the city include trails as well as the streets, she has different rules for herself this year.
I no longer go to Vinerville. I no longer walk the ramps. Like I said, those are new rules I applied to myself. I'm still crazy enough to walk Dunmore 3 times.
As Teresa walks to the Welcome Medicine Hat signs on Highway 3 and 41, she can't help but admire the beauty of the prairies. And when she's going through neighborhoods, the gardens never cease to amaze her. Even though she mostly walks alone, she says there's no need for music.
There's enough music in the air that nature provides for me that I don't have to be listening to iPads and block out all this nice sounds. So
Teresa's current trip will keep her busy for the next year, as she's only a few neighborhoods into her 14th walk. Tegan Rasha, Chat News.
The words lights, camera, action were heard in Medicine Hat this year. This summer, the city hosted production of the supernatural television miniseries Angel Dust. For many Hatters, the chance to see themselves on the small screen was too much to pass up.
Angel Dust, Episode 2, Scene 10A, Take 1. Mark.
When Shannon Olderberger heard a TV miniseries was going to be filming in Medicine Hat, she knew she could realize a lifelong dream and impress her kids at the same time.
Just being there, knowing that this is going to be on TV and my kids will go, oh, hey, look at that, that's my mom.
The supernatural show starring Daniel Baldwin wrapped filming in the city this week. Oldenburger was first on set last week as a background extra. For Monday's outdoor family festival scene, she had a bigger part, including lines.
I'm pretty nervous about it, but I think I'll do okay. It's just an angry mom, so, and I can do that if somebody hits my kids or something, you know.
Monday was Matthew Harper's first day on set. Born and raised in Medicine Hat, Harper has looked forward to this day for years.
It was always my dream to be on television, so this seemed like the best opportunity to fulfill that need and that dream.
They weren't the only two with stars in their eyes when the call for extras went out. Co-producer Devin Berdini says they were flooded with emails.
We got a lot of interest from the community. It overloaded our servers getting emails. And it's been a process trying to get back to everyone.
He says the community has welcomed the production with open arms and hopes to return to Medicine Hat next year.
Well, it's got a lot of potential, great scenery, and as for coming back here, that depends if we get to season 1.
Chris Brown, Chat News.
One final break here on the Year in Review, but when we return, a Redcliffe boy found something spectacular this summer. Plus, we'll take a look at how southern Alberta was transformed into a small town in Oklahoma for a big budget Hollywood movie. That is coming up when we return. After patrolling the streets of Medicine Hat together for several years, the partnership between Sergeant Clark White and his police service dog Duco came to a sad ending earlier this year when Duco passed away. But a heartfelt gesture from a stranger in Ontario has helped Duco's legacy live on. Sergeant White and Duco kept the streets of Medicine Hat safe from 2009 until 2015. When Duco retired, he lived out his days going for walks, laying around the house, and wrestling with White's kids. Duco passed away on January 30th. Artist Nicole Wilmot from Ontario read about Duco's death on social media. For the past few years, Wilmot has surprised officers with portraits of their departed dogs. Already overwhelmed by the outpouring of support when Duco died, Wilmot's gift put it well over the top for White.
When I received the painting in the mail, completely unexpected from a complete stranger on the other side of the country, I was blown away. It's nowhere else to put it. It was just an incredibly kind gesture from somebody, and kind of, it's things like that make you realize how good this world is and how many good people are in this world.
Wilmot says the paintings are a personal project and she likes to give back to police officers in any way she can. She also says she has a German Shepherd who she says has totally captured her heart.
I know how dog parents feel, and I know what it feels like when they lose their pet. It's losing part of your family, right? So if I can help out in any little way.
White says the portrait has had a permanent place in his home since it arrived. A family hike turned into a historic discovery for a Redcliffe boy this year. Tegan Rasha has more on just what he found.
A normal weekend hike for the Werbisky family turned into a 76-million-year-old discovery. 7-year-old Austin found a dinosaur tooth just outside of Redcliffe.
We just went for a hike in the night. So we were by coal. And then I found this on the top of the coal.
At first, Austin's mom, Bridget, thought it was just a fish tooth. Excited by the find, the family reached out to the University of Alberta Paleontological Society for answers.
We called the paleontologist, and he said it's an Ankylosaurus tooth.
Coy Gwen with the Paleontological Society confirmed the find. He knew right away based on the very specific appearance.
I know the approximate age, geological age of the area in southeastern Alberta, and I also know that it's a herbivorous dinosaur.
He says the chances of finding fossils in our area are pretty high, but teeth are hard to spot based on the small size.
The bentonite clay in the Badlands area are very heavily subject to wind and other erosional forces. So every year, more fossils are exposed just by erosion.
Alberta has some of the world's strictest fossil protection laws. But lucky for Austin, he gets to keep his tooth because it was found on the surface of unprotected Crown land.
It was really cool.
And now hikes will be a little more exciting as Austin will be keeping his eyes peeled for more dinosaur remains. Tegan Rasha, Chat News.
Like many movie fans around the world, I could not wait for the return of the original Ghostbusters on the big screen this year. But it wasn't just about the chance to see the classic Ecto-1 car and the surviving paranormal investigators. I wanted to check out some of the amazing film locations in the movie as it was shot right here in Alberta. Most of Ghostbusters Afterlife is set in the fictional town of Somerville, Oklahoma, with Drumheller being used for establishing shots. We begin at the gas plant in Turner Valley, 46 minutes southwest of Calgary, as two of the four main new characters, Phoebe and Podcast, begin their journey to uncover the past and protect the future by testing a classic proton pack. Their lives are altered on film at a place where the future of Alberta changed forever. This is the birthplace of Alberta's petrochemical industry. The gas plant in Turner Valley is a provincial historic resource and a national historic site. Let's keep going.
What are you doing here in Somerville anyway?
We're completely broke, and our grandfather left us this creepy old farmhouse in the middle of nowhere.
It's described as a creepy old farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, and it literally is in the middle of nowhere. The land is. The house was just a set built for the movie right here on this field on a grid road south of Calgary, north of the small hamlet of Millerville in the foothills. The house was all torn down after the movie was finished. The crew and cast, including Paul Rudd, were 35 minutes north of Calgary in Crossfield, shooting at W.G. Murdoch School and along Railway Street. Now, this ghost chase covers an amazing amount of territory in real life. It starts in Crossfield, goes to Fort Macleod, where the marquee of the historic Empress Theatre gets caught in the streams. Then it goes to a few streets in Drumheller before ending in Bisker for a chase that covers a total of 547 kilometers in real life. And in Bisker, it ends at one of the most impressive sets. Here's what the corner of 1st Avenue and 6th Street looks like in real life. It used to be a gas station and a diner, but it's empty now. However, in the movie, you take that corner location, add some set design and creativity, and a former gas station and restaurant in Bisker, Alberta becomes Spinner's Burgers and Shakes in Somerville, Oklahoma. Now that is movie magic.
You're a great mom.
I don't know. I'm fine with Trevor, but with Phoebe, she really keeps me on the outside.
That's normal.
The last Alberta Ghostbusters location we're heading to is the tiny hamlet of Dorothy. Located 25 minutes from Drumheller and 154 kilometers east of Calgary, they used several locations here, including the historic ferry bridge, built in 1908 over the Red Deer River, and the hills behind the bridge have all been digitally enhanced for the movie. And I can't wait to see all of that, and hopefully much more, on the big screen.
Egon came out here for a reason.
Egon came out here for a reason? So did I, to see where they made a Ghostbusters movie in Alberta. Dan Reynish, Chat News. Well, that's the year that we've had. You'll find plenty more stories from the last year online at chatnewstoday.ca. I'm Dan Reynish. Here's a list of everybody who works at Chat News. Thanks to all of them for the year we just had.